Australia or Greenland? Which is the largest island in the world? Well, if we were just number crunching, there would be no contest. Australia's total area is approximately 7.7 million square kilometers, while Greenland's is about 2.2 million square kilometers. But that's not really what we're interested in here. In a world that's 71% covered by water, what is considered an island? What is the definition of an island? If we look at a world map, even Eurafrasia, which is not a swear word, but what we call the landmass comprising Europe, Africa, and Asia, could actually be considered an island. Let's try to resolve this doubt in a new episode of Earth Records.
Ciao ragazzi, this video was written and filmed in Italian by our team of scientists, storytellers and video makers, manually translated into English, but dubbed with artificial intelligence. Long live culture, and let's go back to the video.
To talk about the largest island in the world, the first thing we need to do, as I said before, is to clarify what is meant by island. And regarding this, it must be said that there's no consensus among geographers. So the video ends here. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Jokes aside, an island is a piece of land completely surrounded by a body of fresh or salt water. And so far, so good. The problem at this point, however, is distinguishing between a continent and a simple island, which is harder than it may seem. Generally speaking and in brief, to distinguish an island from a continent, 3 factors are usually taken into consideration. First of all, the size. If an area is really huge, it tends to be called a continent rather than an island. Secondly, plate tectonics, that is, if an area is surrounded by water but occupies all or a significant part of the tectonic plate it is on, it tends to be defined as a continent rather than an island. Finally, and this is the third factor, biotic and sociocultural aspects are taken into account. A continent, in fact, more so than a simple island, will tend to contain a wide variety of species of flora and fauna, as well as human cultures. In short, as you can see, the criteria are a little ambiguous. That's why not all geographers agree on which island is the largest in the world, and why Australia and Greenland vie for the title. In terms of size, we've seen that there's no comparison, and it's true that Australia is often considered a part of, and therefore an island of, the continent we call Oceania. However, others consider it a continent in its own right. In addition to being decidedly oversized, Australia also has its own tectonic plate, the Australian plate. Greenland, on the other hand, is geologically part of the North American plate, which has all of North America as its centerpiece. And that's not all. From a political perspective, it's not completely independent, but part of the Kingdom of Denmark. So, today I'm going to arbitrarily declare Greenland the winner, just so I can talk about it a bit, but remember that in reality the debate is still open. So, let's start by getting a clearer picture of this Greenland. It's located between the Arctic Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean and, as mentioned previously, covers an area of about 2,200,000 square kilometers, which is about 7 times the size of Italy. By contrast, however, it only has a population of about 56,000 people, like a small Italian city, making it one of the least densely populated areas in the world. In fact, on average, there are 0.03 inhabitants per square kilometer. But why is that? Well, from the satellite, you can immediately see why. It's because 84% of it is covered in ice and snow, and sure enough, the inhabitants mainly live in the coastal areas in the southwestern part of the country. The percentage of habitable land, however, is increasing year by year because of something. Because of what? Because of global warming. The frozen ground is gradually melting, making it conducive to the growth of shrubs and boreal forest. Speaking of greenery, have you ever noticed that the name Greenland can be broken down into the 2 words green and land? The island's original name, Groenland, which, believe it or not, was given to the island in 982 CE by none other than the Viking explorer Eric the Red, means the same thing. But how can that be? Was the island free of ice 1,000 years ago? Is climate change a hoax? Absolutely not. First of all, Eric the Red and his clan probably arrived in what is now Greenland in summer, when the portion of land free from ice and covered in grass and vegetation is at its annual maximum. Given that, according to Viking tradition, Eric had to name the newly discovered land immediately, it makes sense that he perhaps just took a quick look and chose the name Greenland. However, there's an even more intriguing hypothesis. In the saga, that is, the collection of folk tales dedicated to Eric the Red, which was transcribed, mind you, only centuries after Eric's death and should therefore be taken with a grain of salt. Well, in this saga dedicated to him, it stated that Eric chose the name Greenland specifically to attract other Vikings, in particular Icelanders or Scandinavians, to the island, thus promoting its commercial development. In short, it was a true medieval marketing ploy. It was a strategy that worked because his expedition was followed by others, leading to the establishment of a colony in Greenland that lasted for about 4 centuries. Let's now move on from this fun historical fact and jump to the present to understand why the island is so important today. There are various reasons for this. Besides having a truly unique ecosystem and being rich in raw materials and energy sources, including hydrocarbons, gold, platinum, zinc, nickel, uranium, and rare earth elements, Greenland also hosts an American NATO base and is a perfect natural hub for controlling the so-called Arctic route. In the future, if the Arctic ice continues to disappear, the Arctic route will become one of the most important maritime routes on the entire planet. So, speaking of Denmark, why does Greenland belong to the Danish realm? I'll keep it quite brief. At a certain point, the island was abandoned by the Vikings, and it remained sparsely populated for a few centuries. Then, in 1721, it was made a Danish colony before subsequently becoming a Danish county. Today, after a series of referendums and laws, Greenland enjoys a certain level of autonomy. Actually, I'd say it's quite wide-ranging. In fact, it has its own government and parliament, manages internal affairs, and also partially controls foreign investments regarding the extraction of natural resources. Unlike Denmark, it's not part of the European Union, although there's a specific agreement regarding its relations with the EU, which is mainly focused on fishing. Basically, for now Denmark still controls the areas of defense, foreign policy, and security. This is because the Arctic region is becoming increasingly important from a geopolitical standpoint, and controlling it is something all the major powers aspire to, especially the United States, China, and Russia. China intends to strengthen economic cooperation with the island, primarily in the field of mining, and aims to build infrastructure such as airports and scientific research bases. The United States, on the other hand, already has a base there, which is managed by its Space Force, and also signed an agreement with Denmark in December 2023 to enhance NATO's presence on the island. The European Union has not just stood on the sidelines, it too has been working to strengthen its ties with Greenland. Indeed, in March 2024, the European Commission opened an office in the capital, Nuuk. Greenland, however, at this time, let's say that, yes, it is allied with the United States and the European Union, but it also seems to want to keep the door open to Beijing in search of, let's say, greater independence, even more than it already has, from the Danish crown, especially from a commercial and political standpoint. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you for the next video, always here on Geopop Everyday Science. Bye!